Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winning Women Talk Show. I'm Regina Shearer, your host, and I'm so happy that you could be with us this evening. Well, I don't know where you are in this world, but all I can tell you is that here in New England, it's really cold, but we're weathering the coldness, and I hope that wherever you are doing the same thing or just enjoying a warmer climate. We're glad that you found time, whatever part of the world you're in, to spend with us this evening. And as you know, if you're a regular viewer or listener, every week we present a different woman who gives us a different story about her journey to doing that special something that fulfills her passions, what her career goals are, that give her self satisfaction and allows her to use her expertise and skill sets to do that something that not only makes her life a pleasure, but also is a benefit to other people and makes a positive difference in their lives. So, as you've been doing that, I hope that if you're one of those people who said to themselves, I always wanted to do this, but that something you've been hearing has inspired you, motivated you, or made you second think another time around, I'll put it that way, about am I really doing what I'm passionate about? And so tonight, I hope that our guest will say something that will make you say to yourself, you know what? If she can do it, so can I. Now, as always, we invite you to be a part of this show. And there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can call us at 781-384-5587. That's 781-384-5587. Or if you're a little phone shy, call me. Regina, email me, I'm sorry, email me, Regina netradio.com. I promise you we'll respond. So we are happy that you have taken time tonight, and I am happy now to introduce to you the guest of our program tonight, who is Christina Maryland. She is a senior executive based in the Boston area whose expertise is in nonprofit and government business operations, communications, public relations, strategic marketing, and organizational leadership. Christina strategically integrates public relations and marketing campaigns in order to successfully raise an organization's public profile in a digital age. And I am so glad to hear that, because you really have to understand how digital media impacts branding and marketing. And that's where she excels. Her ability to unify and elevate organizations through the strategies she has developed include initiatives such as the Roxbury Cultural District, Shaw 54th Regiment Memorial Restoration Project, and the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative. She is also the Director of Communications and Family Engagement for Newton Public Schools, serving as a strategic communications practitioner, facilitating community building and developing sustainable strategies in line with the organization's missions and goals. And she focuses on engaging parents in dialogue, discussion, and workshops that drive the outcomes, creating better support for student learning. In her previous role, Christina served as the statewide deputy chief for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the trial court, supporting the judiciary. That's a hard word for me. Sorry,
It is.
Christina.
No.
Supporting the judiciary by refining its equity and access lens to ensure the fair delivery of justice. In addition, she leads her own successful consultancy. It's called Christina Created. Through her work as a strategic partner with Kelly Chun and Associates, where she crafts tailored marketing strategies to meet the unique needs of a diverse clientele. She's a seasoned as I said, PR strategist and equity leader, enabling cross functional teams to successfully achieve impactful objectives for their organizations. There's so much more to her, but let me just finalize by saying she's also a publicist, an author, an advocate for entrepreneurship for women. And believe it or not, she does have this in her spare time. She refinishes furniture, plans extensive travel, and explores the rich history of her home city, Boston, Massachusetts. And of course, if you're in Boston, you've got to do what she does, and that is cheers on her home teams. So, having said all of this, welcome, Christina, to the
Thank,
Winning Women Talk Show.
thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. This is an honor.
Well, I'm excited about you being on tonight because people who are watching and viewing this show know that I've used a word over and over in introducing you. And I think it speaks volumes about who you are and what you're going to share with us. And the word is strategic.
Yes.
But that says a lot about you all by itself.
Thank
And
you.
so I know that all of the us tonight are going to be zooming in on those types of activities you've engaged in and how being strategic has paid off. But right now, first and foremost, we want to know a little bit more about Christina, Maryland. And tell us about you, where you're from, what it was like growing up, your
Mhm.
education trajectory, and what ultimately led you to doing what you do now.
So, I grew up in Boston, and I am a child of the 80s. So, if anybody knows anything about Boston, this is going to be a little bit of history, but I grew up in a redlined area of the city. So, back in the day when the cities were not as integrated and bustling with opportunity and resources, redlined areas were blighted. And growing up in one of those areas, generally the odds are stacked against you from birth. And so it takes a community to get us through school to keep us on the right track. And I was lucky enough to be born into a really great family and also have community around me. So I can tell you that my steadfastness or my fortitude kind of grew when I was younger, where I took an exam for a school. And in Boston, there are three exam schools that you take a test to enter. I actually had the opportunity to attend one. However, in the 90s, Boston had what's called a quota for the number of students in each racial group that could be admitted to the school. At the time, you could get the score, but if they filled the quota, then you wouldn't be admitted to the school. And this is sixth grade when you take the exam. I reached the score that I was supposed to reach to be admitted into the school, but it was pretty much told to me that we reached our quota of Black students to admit, and I didn't take no for an answer. I have an amazing mother who even if she feels it might be shenanigans from me at times, she supports me very heavily and very firmly. And I asked her if I could write a letter to the superintendent of the school district, would she deliver it for me? I attended Boston Public Schools. My mom also worked there for 35 years. So she spent a lot of time in that same building with the superintendent. And she said, yeah, if you write the letter, I will deliver it. And I wrote the letter and I said, this is going to diminish my opportunities in life by not letting me go to this school when I've done everything that was required. I dropped the letter off to my mom. She dropped it off somewhere in the building. I never got any notice about anything except that I got a change of school assignment over the summer. And I was able to attend the school that I had my heart set on. And truly, that's what really set my trajectory and told me that anything's possible, because I realized that the power of no is when you tell yourself no first. And so I never tell myself no first. I'm never the first no that I hear. And that's what really gives me my drive and really helps me. Just being surrounded by people who breathe excellence and life into me. I've been very lucky. When I've been in school, I've had people that believed in me and always spoke excellence into me. I come home and I hear that from my mom, my older sister, and just all of the people around me. So it's really just helped me stay grounded, but also firm and helps contribute to a strong inner voice where I don't hear doubt in my mind. And so that's
Mm,
really how I grew up. And as an adult, what I have decided to do, and made a conscious decision about doing, is being that person for someone else. So a huge part of my motto or mantra and how I this just move in this world is to really make sure that I am giving back to everyone in the same ways that I was given to help support my ability to be successful. So that's when I work in workplaces. I try to be a helpful colleague. I try to be the best employee that I can be so that I'm contributing to the success of an organization, and really trying to make sure that we're working smarter, not harder, but not in the sense of nobody needs to do work, just making sure that we're not doubling the work that we can do. We're making sustainable choices that outlive us in the work that we
mhm.
do, and that is contributing to the betterment of society. I really believe that community is the only way we can get through anything. And without community, wherever you are, you build community where you are. That's the most important piece of how we move through this world. So all of the work that I do, it's passionate, but it's also really community driven. And I want to be able to leave a mark that says she cared about this place that she left behind.
Right, right. You said a couple of things. So you don't have to reveal, but I'm hoping that one of those, what they call now STEM schools, that you took that exam for, it was not John D. O'Brien, but you don't have to answer.
It was. I am an O'Brien graduate.
Okay, so we'll talk about that offline.
I know.
So,
Well, more to chat
um,
about.
it was just something when you said the '80s, and I started thinking through some things that were
Mhm.
happening in the Boston area. That's what made me my mind click there, but I was
Yes.
hoping you would say I hope you were gonna say Boston Academy or Boston Latin or something else. But
Oh, I
anyway,
know.
but I'm glad that you took the initiative to advocate for yourself
Hmm.
because that speaks volumes. The other thing is you mentioned that you have support, of course your mother, and then you mentioned your older sister. Are you the youngest child in the family, or is it just you and your sister?
So I have two older sisters,
Oh,
one on my mom's side, one on my dad's side. But growing up in the house, I grew up with my older sister on my mom's side, and I have a younger brother as well. So
oh,
I'm smack in the middle. I'm the youngest girl, and just it's very interesting place to be in the birth order. But I'm also the child that takes the most risks. I think I am happy to just kind of try whatever. I moved away for college, whereas my older sister stayed local. She liked to stay very close, and me, I said I'm gonna hit the bricks and I'll see y'all later. So I went out to Connecticut. I didn't know anybody there, and now I have a whole network of friends in
oh,
Connecticut where I visit very often.
right. So you basically went to, they didn't call it STEM then, but you went to a math and science school,
Yes.
and but you focused on communications, public relations, business organization. So what happened to move you in that direction?
So, really, when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to study.
Oh,
In high school, I found that I had a really great skill in English, and I was really strong in the humanities. My math, it's a lot better than it was when I was younger. I was great with the visual kind of math, so like geometry, um, trigonometry, which ironically is like very complex, but I understood it. But the more abstract types of math were not my strength. However, it was really fascinating to me, and it's very similar with science. I'm really great with chemistry, but once we get into physics, I get lost. Um, and so it really helped me understand that like I have strengths in really seeing what I'm doing in a way that other people may not have the same strength. I found that same kind of similarity when I took accounting classes in college. I was great in accounting. All the smart kids with the math with the math talents, they couldn't wrap their heads around accounting. They could do finance with their eyes closed, but accounting just escaped them. And for me, it was the easiest class ever. I've never gotten an easier A. But what I realized is that communications is really an awesome trajectory in terms of the type of work that you do, because you get to learn a little bit about everything, about every major. I learned about psychology, I learned about philosophy, I learned about business, I learned about all different types of subject areas, and kind of became a dangerous asset to whoever I worked for, because I could understand people in a way that that other majors didn't really focus on. So, for example, in communications, you don't just have to be a good writer or a good speaker. You have to understand people, because when you're writing, you're not just writing to people about something abstract. Most of the time, you're writing because you want to inspire something in them. You want them to take an action. You want them to understand something better, or you want them to keep something in mind for the future. And so, with that, you have to really know and think about what motivates people to do things. And that's where the psychology of people comes into play, because you have to make sure that you structure messages for large audiences who may have very different lived experiences or understanding of how life goes. And you need them to all take a similar action. And it's actually, that's a science in figuring out how to get all these people who are so different to do the same thing. And I was really fascinated by that. So I decided to study communications because it really felt interesting. I liked it. It was like a little puzzle, and it made me just really giddy. And I found a lot of success in going with the thing that gives me excitement.
But that in itself, see, that's why strategic is important,
Yeah.
because I don't know your world, but as a consumer, I'll put myself in that category, because a lot of the messaging I get is about something that a company has determined that I need to have in my life,
Hmm.
right? And to be able to get to that emotional trigger in me that makes me say, "Ooh, I'd like to have that. Ooh, I should do that," right?
Exactly.
I need one of those. Um, uh, that's that's strategic.
Hmm. Absolutely.
It's very strategic, and so you moved though, and that's, I guess, the question I'm getting to. It, you understood communications, but this strategic piece,
Hmm.
um, and which is targeting that audience, targeting that campaign, targeting um, how that communication is, who it's going to impact and who's going to buy into it. That is strategic, right? That's strategic
Yes.
planning and development. And so, how did you shift from "I just want to communicate well" to strategically?
Well, it's funny. I didn't know. So The Simpsons is a show I grew up on, and a running joke on that series is when people go to college, they say, "What are you going to be? A communications major?" And nobody knows what a communications major does. And it's kind of like a nice little secret, because if you don't know what we do, that means we're actually doing our job. I went to school and I thought I was going to go into advertising. I got an internship with one of the biggest advertising firms in the world. I spent a summer working on NASCAR advertising account. I learned a lot about tires and did a cost comparison for that. But I realized that for me, communications, and this is a piece of the strategy that you're getting to, you really have to care about what you're doing. And I realized selling a product is not what I cared about. I decided to go into communications and really get into the nonprofit and government world, because that's really what motivated me, is talking to people and talking to them about things that mattered for their quality of life, not to sell a product. So the thing that was helpful for me is that I understood how to sell a product. And if you can sell something to someone that they don't need, it makes it a lot easier to sell something to them that they do need, in terms of information about how to stay safe, information about how to be healthy.
Okay. Um, uh, she's back.
What happened? Oh
I
no.
don't know, but you're back.
I'm back. Oh
Yes.
no.
But
Well,
yeah, anyway, you were talking about information on how to stay safe, information on how to be
yes.
healthy.
So I went into communications in government, and I actually worked in public safety for 4 years. And during those 4 years, I learned all about crisis communications. I managed the communications coordination for a few major events that happened in Boston, a few storms, hurricanes, Hurricane Sandy and Irene. I managed the
Ooh,
information and emergency planning for in response regarding communication after the Boston Marathon bombing, and I was a part of a lot of other smaller scale but impactful communications responses on the public relations side. And so for me, um, it really was illuminating in how communications helps to support people during huge times of need and huge moments where it's major life or death situations. But even further, I spent a lot of time doing the community outreach with folks and teaching, especially our people who are disabled and a part of the disability community, about how emergency planning supports their needs, especially if it's related to a prolonged situation. And that's what really made me think about what my career would look like, because that was in my early part of my career where I started working in communications for government, and I realized I like people and I like helping them, and the relief that you see when someone gets information that helps support something they care about a lot, not just their lives but their kids, their
right.
neighbors, their neighborhood. It really just gives me joy, and it just helps me give back to the Boston that I loved and that really nurtured me as a child, because I love this city. I mean, anybody that meets me and talks to me for 10 seconds realizes that Boston is my home. I love it here. I chose to come back to Boston because it's where I feel the most comfortable. It's not just where my family is, it's where I am, and this is a
Mm.
big piece of me. And so it's really important to stay true to who you are and really know what you want out of your life, whether it's staying local or going abroad and going somewhere else.
Well, for the if you've heard all that, I know you can't wait to hear more. You've been listening and viewing Christina Maryland, and she is a strategic marketing communications, and I'm just going to rattle it off, public relations professional, and she's based in the greater Boston area. And as well, she is also a director for family engagement, community and family engagement for a school. And we want her to talk about that when we come back. But we also want to hear from you. I know you were just as captivated as I was while she was talking, so much that I forgot to take a commercial break.
Oh
I've
no.
got to do that now. But again, we want to hear from you. So if you missed it the first time around, call us at 781-384-5587 or email me, Regina, at rgbinternetradio.com. Now, don't go too far. We're taking a very quick commercial break. So run to the refrigerator and get that drink or quick snack and come right back and sit down and watch or listen, because we will be right back.
At Portal to Hope, we're here to help victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking crimes. We provide support, resources, and hope to those who need it most. We believe that everyone deserves to live a life free from violence. If you or someone you know is in danger, please reach out for help. Call us at 781-338-7678. We offer a variety of services including counseling, legal aid, job assistance, and housing support. We also work to raise awareness about these issues and to advocate for change. Together, we can create a world where everyone is safe and free from violence. Portal to Hope is here for you.
And we are back with our guest tonight, Christina Marilyn. And just before we took our commercial break, I mentioned that she is the director for communications and family engagement for Newton Public Schools. And as she was talking about communications, I said, "Oh, I can't wait for her to talk about this role because there are different stakeholders
Hmm.
and constituencies in that work that you do in the school system
Absolutely.
who have to hear messaging in different ways in order to benefit from what's being communicated, right, and be feel supported or advocated for or know
Absolutely.
where to go for help. So tell us about that work you do.
Well, so I have been in K-12 public relations, communications, and community development for 10 years now. So it's an area that I really enjoy working in. My role in Newton is actually very new. So I'm on the train and building it as it's moving down the track, but it's an exciting time. The biggest piece of what I do in this role is really focusing on being student centered, but supporting families and how they can make sure that their children are getting the educational experiences that they would like them to have, and that we're
Mhm.
supporting kids to become whoever they have decided they want to be. Um, we only get them for 12 years and 13 if they start kindergarten and we're lucky, and even before that if they come into pre-K, but it goes by very fast. And
Mhm.
the biggest piece of our work is making sure that we are partners with parents and really helping them understand that like we're invested in their child's success. Our work is to make sure we're putting successful people out in the world, and success looks
Right.
different for every kid. Some kids are going to go straight to career after high school. Some kids are going to go to the military, and some kids are going to go to college. And we want them to feel like they can go off and be their best version of themselves and contribute to our global citizenship.
Right.
So my role is really helping to bring families into the schools, break down the walls and the barriers. And sometimes it's just making sure that it feels welcoming to families. Other
Right.
times it's making sure that when families walk in and speak languages that are found around the world, they actually are met with a smile and some level of language access and not feeling isolated. The biggest piece of the work that I do is making sure that we are supporting kids' quality of lives. Kids that don't have winter jackets, kids that don't eat, they're not going to be successful in school. And parents who are worried about those things can't be the best parents that they want to be. So we are figuring out ways to build partnerships and even starting our own grassroots kind of efforts um, in the district to support those needs. So we do a winter coat distribution, we have backpack distributions for students, and we're
Mhm.
building out a community closet so that our families can come and get clothes that have been laundered and donated to us for them to take home and have for themselves. We're hoping to have every kid that comes into the community closet leave with a book, because every child should have a small library at home. The power of books and reading is important, and studies show that when children learn to read and have met their reading benchmarks by grade 3, that determines a lot of their later success in life. So
Right.
we want to contribute to that. Um, as I said about my own personal journey in life, my mom was a preschool teacher and she taught all of us how to read. And having exceptional reading skills has helped me be strategic. It's helped me read rooms, not just the words, but the people, and understand where I'm coming into and how to navigate in the world in different ways. And I want to give that to other people who may not have had that access that I've had.
Wow. Well, there's a couple of emails here.
Oh boy.
One of them says, "Good evening, Christina. You mentioned that you have done your work for government agencies. How difficult is it to create communications for the government? Do they have guidelines for what you have to write or I'm sorry, they made a few typos and I think spell check decided to change it for them. Do they determine what you have to write what is said, or do you have a little liberty? I'm thinking about doing that in a job I have with a government institution.
That's a great question. I think when I was earlier in my career, I had a lot more stringent guidelines around what I wrote and who and how the checks went through. Now I'm at the top of the food chain a little bit more. I still have the folks that I work with and send the checks and balances through, just to make sure our message is tight and clear. But I am at the end of the road now when it comes to the messaging. But really, when it comes to public relations, especially in government, it's important to make sure not just that your message adheres to guidelines, but that you're clear and that you are making sure that you're not inciting panic in people. Even if it's something like right now, in schools, the biggest thing that people are talking about is, will children be safe? And we don't want people to feel that children are ever going to be unsafe in schools. So we share information about our protocols and reinforce that schools are safe, and we are going to make sure that any child in our building is safe. It doesn't mean that we can kind of predict what happens once kids leave school, but it ensures that parents know when they're in our buildings, they're going to be at the safest possible place for them. And that's just one example of how you structure a message to make sure people get the information they need, but that you don't incite panic. And when you have a lot of partners, within your agency or within your organization, everybody contributes their subject matter expertise to the message so that you ensure that
Yeah.
you have the right pieces of information and that you connect people. If you're not the subject matter expert and it's an outside place, you connect them with the right folks so that they can get resources. I love working in government communications, and I encourage you to explore it if that's your interest as well.
Wow. Okay. Another one says, "Good evening, Christina. It has been great listening to you tonight. I love what you said about advocating for yourself and not telling yourself no first. That's really sound advice and a good reminder to all of us who want to strive for the next level. As we face a critical upcoming election, does your communication goal strategy help get your community ready to vote? If so, how? I'd love to hear. Thanks again."
So I am an avid voter. I vote in all elections, big and small. And I encourage everybody to vote in every election, whether it is the presidential elections, the big every 4 years one, the midterm every 2 years, and also your local elections. What I
Primaries.
will tell you is that the folks that are on the ground in your neighborhoods, your city councilors, your state reps, and your governor, those are the people that are the closest to your quality of life and impacting it even more. So you really should make sure that you vote in every election that becomes possible for you. And that's all of the small ones. That's the ones where they're trying to decide if they're going to run a pipe through your city, or,
Mhm.
all of those things matter. And as I've gotten older, I've really understood the importance of not just focusing on the the oil that is squeakiest, which tends to be the big national election that makes everybody stand up. But it's
Mhm.
all those small ones that are the cogs that never make noise, but they are the ones that are going to impact how the car moves, if that makes sense. So I encourage you to vote, and I am going to be at the polls. I have an election, local election in March, and I'm going to be right there voting so that I can make sure that the quality of life for me and my neighbors stays at the tip top.
This one says, "You mentioned that you unify organizations through the strategies you develop, and you helped to do that in the community of Boston in initiatives such as the Roxbury Cultural District, the Shaw Regiment Memorial Restoration, and the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative. Can you explain a little more about the kinds of communications you used or PR that you used in doing that?"
Yes. So I would like to shout out my partner in crime, in PR crime, Kelly Chun. She is a friend, she's a mentor, and she is a wealth of information and knowledge in Boston. She's almost like a piece of Boston history that's like a living legend. But even more so, the work that we do is really ensuring that there's multicultural and multifaceted ways that we are advancing the work. The Roxbury Cultural District was a historical designation and sets a specific area in Roxbury as a historical site and a cultural site for the state of Massachusetts. And through that, we had to have a number of community meetings to get community input and buy in about the district, bring in all the stakeholders who participate and support the arts and culture building in Roxbury, for example, and really make sure that the bid to the state was strong and sound. And so that's one example of how we come together to build out the strategies to really make sure that the communications is there. And we use our local media to get the word out. So we have very, again, I'm a very grassroots, let's get like hyper local with our communications and go to where the people are. So this is through word of mouth. This is getting to the influencers, but not the Instagram influencers. It's all those community people that everyone knows their names and they have the ear of the folks in the area, and to help get the word out and get folks to the meetings and get engaged in the work that we're doing. And for the Shaw 54th Regiment Memorial, that is a historical site in the city of Boston. If you've seen the movie Glory, that's the regiment that it's for, and it's the
Right.
Black Regiment of Civil War fighters, and they
Right.
marched up Beacon Street in Boston. This memorial was had a deteriorating foundation that needed to be moved, but with something that's so important to Boston and also national history, we had to ensure that we didn't just take the memorial away. And so we spent time
Right.
having public conversations about the importance of memorials and monuments. And a few years later, we had the Embrace statue uh, join the regiment memorial dedication in the Boston Commons. So
Yeah.
it's just all of those types of things kind of help to build on it. And we worked really closely with our partners, state, federal, and local.
What was of those projects mentioned, which one was the most challenging for you?
I think that it would be the Shaw 54th Regiment Memorial. There were a lot of different parties that had very big pieces in it. It's a layered project where it wasn't just the state parks and the federal parks that had a vested interest. It was also city, and we have the Friends of the Public Garden that all had very different interests and perspectives. And so coming together and aligning everybody under one goal of how we would do the communication and do the outreach is complex, but it was one that kind of created a puzzle for us to solve. And we were able to have some really important and impactful public conversations about the importance of monuments and the value that they bring to communities. Of color, especially, but any community, because it helps to create discourse. Folks can actually rally around what they remember. I mean, I grew up getting off in front of that memorial, and I knew it as the 43 bus stop to get downtown. So to grow up and realize that this was not just the bus stop that let me off downtown, but it's a huge part of Black history nationally and also Black history locally, it really had a different connotation for me by then. So it was great.
Yes, and I'm sure it was an honor to be
Yes.
engaged in that. I'm
Yes.
sure it was because you're right, that's history. Yeah, and hopefully it's still in some textbook somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
I said it.
We have to
But
keep
anyway,
all the books.
so in those initiatives and some of the other things you mentioned outside
Mhm.
of what you do in the Newton Public School District, w is that Christina created that's engaged in those or
Yes.
okay,
So the projects that are community based and outside of Newton Public Schools are all freelance projects. And
okay,
honestly, I fell into doing freelancing work and creating a small business. But again, I don't tell myself no first. So when I met Kelly, what at this point it was 11 years ago, she asked me if I ever took on work to do outside of my full-time job. And I said, in my head, no, I don't, I've never done that. But to her, I said, of course I do. What would you like to do together? And that was when I launched off and started taking on freelance clients. And Kelly was one of the first people I collaborated with, and she's also my longest collaborator. But since then, I've expanded, and my business is referral only. I actually don't look for clients, I take them based on folks referring them to me. And it's been sustainable for the last 11 years.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
So in in your business, which aspect of your expertise is requested the most often? Is it just communicating something about an organization or individual? Is it public relations? Is it strategic development? What is it that you
So
find most common?
it's funny that you ask that because most of the time I am requested to do communications, but when I get under the hood of the car, I find that there needs to be a little bit more done around the strategic foundation and development of sustainable strategies. So, for
Wow.
example, sometimes folks will say, I need you to help us communicate this initiative about this project. And I'll say, okay, great. Let's look at what you have in place to support somebody coming to your website to ask about this or look for information, somebody emailing you to get information. What happens when people Google you and look for this information? And so when they ask me to communicate something, it doesn't make sense to like kind of throw the message out the window and let it hope that it flies. I really try to make sure that if we're going to put messaging out into the world, that there's a way for it to come back, and the home base being your website and where you do your most business online, it makes it easy to find. People will see you as the subject matter expert or as the place and hub of information, and you'll be able to get some like passive participation from folks beyond the initial message so that it doesn't just sit um, on a website or on a news page for a week or a day. It actually continues to bring you people beyond that moment and really enhancing like your search engine optimization in different ways, having keywords. And so that's where the strategic development kind of comes in, because I can't just look at a problem and act like and just take the money and say I did what you asked, because that's not the way to do things, and that's not the way to do business. So I think that's why I have a lot of return clients.
I I'm thinking about all of this. So I have a question, and that is, what's the leeway time? So someone comes to you and says, "This is what I need," right?
Hmm.
Or I hope you can help me with. What's the time? Because you've just talked about a number of things you're doing. Because I know it sounds a little odd, but so forgive me because I don't understand your world, but it sounds like you're literally getting into the head of the client's communication,
Yes.
right? And so, how much time does it take for you to come back with whatever it is, you know, they're asking?
Generally, it doesn't take me very long anymore. Now, when I was earlier in my career, it took me could take me a few weeks. But at this point, when a client comes and asks a question about publicizing something, I take the time before we talk about what to do to look at why they need this. Because a lot of times people think that they need more PR and more communication, and really, what you need is a better structured presence, either
Mhm.
in the community in person or online, or a
Mm,
combination of both. And it would be a disservice to just kind of create a message for you. I can write a message. I can write in my sleep. So that's never a problem. But to really ensure that you have the impact you want, I
right.
really try to make sure that I lay the landscape. Now, if a client says, I don't care about all that, I just want this message to get out, I'll help you, but I won't let you leave without knowing that there's a better way. And so I try to ensure that we do a little bit. It's not always the deepest analysis because we do have to get under contract for like an audit, but I am able to do audits, and those are deeper and they explore more and they give you more information about how you can can actually reach more people than you've been reaching. And it's not just solely based on your message, it's also based on your methods. So probably a couple of weeks, depending on the depth of where we need to go.
Well, you've just communicated to me and to everyone viewing and listening in such a way that I wish I had some business to give you or ask you for, because you made me feel, just listening to what you do for your clients. You made me feel like I'm not a boilerplate person. I don't want to be like the average person. I'm not mediocre in what I do. I'm going to make sure this reflects what you want to say, and it reflects the quality of what you want to offer. And I love that. I'm like, I don't have a business to give you right now, but you know, I I think I hope there's someone listening right now saying, I need to get in touch with her really quick. But again, you have been listening to Christina Marilyn, and we've been talking about her consultancy, which is Christina Created. She is a strategist for communications, PR, organizational development, and so much more. And we're going to come right back. We've got to take another quick commercial. And if you paid attention to how long the first one was, you know you're going to have to run if you're going to do anything. But we're going to be right back. Again, there's still time to call in. The call in number is 781-384-5587, or you can email me, Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. We still have a few minutes left in the show, so we would love to hear from you. So don't go too far. We're going to be right back.
Life can be unpredictable, and when those moments occur, you want the assurance that your family and property are protected. Sabatino Mastrocola Insurance Agency provides insurance coverage and security for every situation: home, life, flood, car, personal, or property. We're here to help you protect what matters most: your future. We are a full-service insurance agency providing experienced experts who speak Spanish, Portuguese, and English to assist you in acquiring the type of insurance coverage you need. That's the Sabatino Mastrocola promise. Contact us at 617-387-7466 or on our website, www.sabatino-ins.com. Get peace of mind today for uncertain tomorrows.
And we're back with Christina Marilyn. So, of all the things that you do, what gives you in your work, which one really gets you revved up, fired up, and excited?
Honestly, I really love my full-time job. It is rewarding when I get to hire interns from the high school, or I
Oh,
visit a middle school and I get to just kind of see the kids interacting with each other. And and the elementary students are the most adorable kids ever. And you can always get, like, a little bit of like those, the calming vibes when you go to the preschool and the
mhm.
kindergarten, because they're just happy to be here. And I think about all of those moments. Like, I look at them and I see my childhood. I see all those happy moments I had. And I want that for every kid. Every kid
Yes.
deserves to come into a school where somebody says, I believe in you, I see you, you are
Mhm.
important. And if I can do anything to make that environment for them, that's where I find the best reward. So for me, that my full-time job really is, it pays the bills, but it's a labor of love, because I had so many amazing people throughout my educational career be excited to see me. I see that with my daughter. When she walks into her school, they know her name, they say hello to her, they talk about how she is a light. And I want every child to feel that. And I want every kid to really feel that school is where they belong, so they can walk out into this world and know that this is a place where they belong.
Yes, I agree with you. And you mentioned your daughter and what you wanted for her. But I know that you have a heart for women in business as well, that
Absolutely.
women entrepreneurs in particular. And so talk to us a little bit about that, why you care so much about that. I know you are a woman, you should care, but
Yes, of course. It's funny. I have so many friends who are just these multi-talented women that are powerhouses. They have so many different skills that I don't have. And what I love the most about female entrepreneurship and supporting our women and being a girl's girl is that we really have a collective intelligence that just is unparalleled, and being able to pull together strong teams and come together to do impactful work in our communities, impactful work in our full-time jobs. All of my friend groups, we are all professionals in different ways. And
mhm,
what I love about it is that whenever I sent a text to one of my girl groups tonight and said, "Oh my gosh, ladies, I forgot. I'm going to be on this podcast. I just wanted you to know." And the first response was, "So you send this text, but you don't send the link." And that's what you need to have in your corner, is people who don't ask, "Why are you asking me?" but more, "What can I do? How can I support you?" And so I really love that. And whenever I encounter a female entrepreneur, my first question is, how can I support you? What kind of business can I give to you? I have a friend who I went to high school with, and she has a charcuterie business. Her name is Jasmine Webb, and she made the most amazing board for my daughter's birthday party a few years ago. And I said, "I'm going to always hire you. I want to make sure that we are giving and pouring into each other. Just know that I think you're talented, and I'm going to do whatever I can to support your business." And that's what it
wow,
looks like, showing up at paying full price, not looking for a discount.
right,
Not that you don't want a discount, but it's like, I value your service and I value your talent, and I'm going to pay you what you're worth, because women get shortchanged enough. So
mhm,
I'm not going to be the one to shortchange another woman. But
mhm.
I really love supporting my friends and supporting other women, even if you're not my friend. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that's how you give back. Like, to whom much is given, much is also required. And so
Right.
for me, I feel that I should always be paying it forward. I've been very fortunate, and the only way to show gratitude is to ensure that I'm lifting as I rise. So that's my biggest thing.
Well, I was going to say you are bringing along others with you. They may branch out on different trajectories, but that's in very important is
Yes,
to let someone know, uh, come on, come on with me.
exactly.
And 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 making strides and paving a way as you are doing, mentoring, encouraging, and supporting others as they mentor, encourage, and support you. One of the things that I love about what you said with your friend groups is that you appreciate the honesty that
Hmm.
they give you, in saying, "Okay, all right, you told me about it, sure. Where is it? How do I get there? What's the link?"
Absolutely.
Right. But that's good because you appreciate that kind of honesty, right? With
Hmm.
women need to encourage each other, especially
Absolutely.
women of color,
Absolutely.
because we may outnumber men in the demographic statistics now, but we don't outnumber them in top CEO, top management roles, right? We don't outnumber them as chair of the board. We don't, there's a lot of places that we're
Absolutely.
invisible, or we've hit a glass ceiling, or no one's there to support
I
us. And
completely
so
agree
I
with
love
you.
what you're talking about.
And I just want to add, Regina, that my current supervisor in my full time job is a woman, and she is a huge piece of my success and me figuring out the next plateau for my career. She saw something in me that not that I didn't see in myself, but something that I hadn't realized was in me that I should nurture. And she nurtured my skill to systematize and operationalize the things that we were talking about doing, and really encouraged that and set me up for a lot of different successes where I had so many career wins. And watching that in action was very, it impacted me in a way to show that there's more that I had to do, but also there's a lot more that I had to give. And so I just think that it's so important for women to support women, because success really is for all of us. If we move up into these positions, we really can impact the world.
Yes.
Two of my direct reports at work are women, and they said something to me around Thanksgiving that has resonated with me. Um, One of them said that I have decolonized what leadership looks like for her. And the other one said that I inspire her. And I didn't take lightly what they told me, because I really do try to show up, and they said that I take up space when I walk into rooms, but it took a long time to get there and not feel like I had to be small. And even with not telling yourself no, it's easy to not take up space and just be glad you're in the room. But nothing is gained by your voice not being heard, and
Hmm.
you not making sure that your voice is heard. And I learned that from my boss, who told me, I feel like you're the person in the room who knows the most, and right now you're saying the least, and I need that to stop. So it's
Mm,
just important to show the ripple effect of how
yes.
women can impact women.
Wow. Well, I know that I hate to say this, but our time has come to an end. I cannot believe an hour went by so quickly. Someone right now is saying, "How do I get to her? Is there any contact information?" And I can assure you that's what's been coming through here. Where's their website? What's their Instagram? Whatever. So, can you give any information if someone wants to get to Christina Created or your consultancy or to you or
Yes. So I'm actually on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty responsive. I reply to messages. So if you look me up, Christina Maryland, MBA, on LinkedIn, you can request me as a contact or a connection, and just say you saw me on this podcast, in a message, and we'll get chatting.
that's it. Plain and simple. I love it. And all I can say is, I love when we get to the end of a show and I can say, Christina, you truly are a winning woman. And I thank you for, you shared a lot of things that have made me reflect tonight in terms of communication. I
Thank
think
you.
we take it for granted that because we opened our mouth and said something or we wrote something down, that it was impactful.
Hmm.
And there's so much more to it, and I thank you for sharing that tonight. I wish you much success in Christina Created and in your role with Newton Public Schools and with everything that you do and are doing, making differences in other people's lives. Thank you for being on our show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you heard Christina Maryland. If you caught the tail end and didn't see the entire show, you can find it. Go Monday to www.rgbinternetradio.com and our schedule and shows, and you'll see the Winning Women show there, and you'll be able to view it for yourself. Or you can go to YouTube channel or Facebook Live on Saturday, and you'll be able to see the shows there. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again next week. Same time, same place for another episode of the Winning Women Talk Show and a brand new guest. Stay safe, stay warm, and don't forget, love somebody. Thank you for being with us this evening.